This show is brought to you by Beco Dairy Automation. You have tuned in to the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all-dairy connection. We call it the Dairyman's source for new ideas, information, and technology, mixed with a double dose of current market conditions. The what, the why, and the how things influence the amount of money dairy producers receive for their daily milk deliveries. We offer this daily News Hour magazine as a catalyst to make long-term dairy producers sustainable. We invite every dairy producer in America to get their daily dose of what can be done and what they can do to achieve and maintain profitability on their farms. $22 for 36 months is our goal. We advocate there is a way forward. We invite dairy producers to come listen, to learn, and to participate. This is a no complaint zone. We talk solutions. So get out your pen and paper. Here is your host of the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, Tom Van Nortwick, owner of Agribusiness Publications, publisher and editor of the Agribusiness Dairyman magazine.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Tuesday morning, the first day of March 2016, we express our appreciation for the opportunity we have this morning to be involved in a small way with things dairy in California and across the country. We have a long ways to go to accomplish the goal that was outlined just briefly by Stuart, $22 for 36 months in a row. A lofty goal, but necessary. In fact, well, let's start with possible. It can be done and is necessary to provide long-term sustainability for dairy producers across this country, and even, I might say, around the world. It's amazing that the ones taking the biggest hits, the biggest losses, are always the producers. And regardless of which country you look at, everybody else gets their margins except for dairy producers. But good morning to you. We call this the 1 hour all dairy connection because we have a lot every day. It's amazing just how much news and information is available to us, and no matter where we go or how many days we do this, there is just a tremendous onslaught of news and information. Our cover story today is going to be a little bit about the I think it's time that we talk about quality and integrity in the processing sector. These things disturb me when I see them. But a little bit about the news quickly this morning. The global dairy trade is taking place even as we speak this morning. The results will be posted a little bit later. We'll see if there's anything up before we finish our hour together. We are in the Pacific time zone. 8:30 a.m. is when we start, and 11:30 a.m. in the east, but we'll see how that goes. That global dairy trade is taking place way out in the Pacific at this particular time, but in some parts of that world it's already tomorrow. So I know at Tonga in the Polynesian Islands, there's the date line, and it's already tomorrow out there. Another article of news and interest: a recovery in the dairy sector could be 2 to 3 years away, while low oil prices continue to weigh on the market. I think they'll find any reason, but there it is. We totally agree with the 2 to 3 years. It's always 2 to 3 years away. It's an elevator down and a very slow climb to the top on the other side. USDA dairy predictions are down, and that's relative to the amount of exports that we're going to get. We will have a lower year predicted by USDA of exports out of the country than we did in 2015. Listeria found at a cheese plant with mislabeled products. We'll look at that in a little bit later, and that's going to be part of our cover story, along with the Parmesan cheese lawsuit relative to wood fibers being found in grated Parmesan. and that better not have happened. Somebody didn't bring it up by chance. There's something to that, unfortunately, and that kind of crap needs to stop. Some multinational manufacturing firms operating in the country have said the shortage of foreign currencies, especially the dollar, and then they go on to talk about, the currency and exchange rates are hitting everybody a little hard, especially domestic U.S. exports. The dollar stronger. I'm just looking to see that foreign currencies, especially the United States dollar, is having a seriously adverse impact on their operations, thereby pushing up costs and consumer prices. And so, there's just, you never know, as we have watched this week in and week out, month in and month out, year after year now, since really turning our time and attention to everything dairy. It's just amazing the number of factors that do come into play. Regulation has reduced barriers to entry, particularly at farm gate level, and has constrained Fonterra's market power. These are global influences. In summary, the final report has found that competition in New Zealand dairy industry is not sufficient to warrant full deregulation at this time. They've got their own problems out there. Fonterra is in consultation with Kakora staff over the possible closure of the site in order to cut costs. Everybody's A2 Milk Company booked a $10.2 million net profit after tax for the 6 months to December of last year. A2's coming. That is going to be a major player in years to come. A2 Milk, mark it down. It just makes total sense that if they can provide a volume of milk which has the A2 protein instead of the A1 protein, then by golly, it's going to have an impact with consumers. The producers who supply about 40 million liters of milk a year will have until March 2017 to find new buyers. So there's people seeing what I don't get, Stuart, is where we've got some background noise. We're in the process of evolving as a company, by the way, Agribusiness Publications and the Agribusiness Dairyman, into a more digital format. We've got to continue to do print, and we love print. There's nothing like a printed publication, especially for us old guys that are in print, have been in print. And I can trace the days standing in a weekly news office where the lead linotype machines were being used to set copy, and Warren would type on that and knew how to work that. And he was older by then, probably in his 50s, early 60s, when I was in high school and before. And my good friend, his son, Ron, his dad, the Johnsons, ran the THB newspaper. And there were these two big old machines, unbelievable machines, that actually set type in lead. And he could run that. And so, print's been around a long time for some of us still, the dinosaurs that still are involved in the industry. But I'll tell you, there's nothing like providing for our readers more digital, more information, easier, faster, cheaper, better. But we've got to also do a better job of creating and maintaining content. And it's got to be fast-paced and meaningful. So we're working hard on that. And so this is all new to us, but we're working on improving our skills and providing for you a much better product over time. Irish milk production was up almost 20% in January. Our friends, the Irish, are just going crazy out there. Food is a growing sector in Egypt, the most populous Arab nation that is home to 90 million people. Now, 90 million is about a little more than a quarter of the population of the United States, all in one little country there. Feed cattle prices will be in the 120 per hundredweight range, down from 140 plus a year ago. So in the dairy markets yesterday, block cheese was unchanged at 148. Barrel cheese rose just a little bit, 2.5 cents per hundredweight. And then in the spot called butter, grade AA butter had settled again some more at 196.5, and powder at 76.50. So we're going to be joining, as we always say in the opening of the show, a double dose of markets. It is in the markets that all things come to pass. And right now we are angling for influencing that market by being more market responsive with milk production on the farm and relative to profitable demand for that milk in the marketplace. Right now, there is too much milk, probably 6 to 8% globally and nationally here in the domestic market as well. And dairy producers, we have called and do not back down from this at all, that there needs to be a 2% per month reduction. Now, that's not to say, that, oh, yeah, it's just enough to stop growing. That would help a ton. Just not growing would be huge. But what we've got to do is we've actually got to drop total production. And that's not an easy thing for dairy producers. And it never has been and maybe never will be. But we're very hopeful that dairy producers will heed the warning that too much is just not profitable. There are times when you can chase price with product, but now's not one of them. And we need to get resolution to this pay price of milk sooner rather than later. And so we've got a plan. The plan is to grow the domestic demand for milk and utilization of milk in the United States by 30%, a combined total of 30%, and more. There may be even more than that, but we think the number is right around 30%, and we're going to help drive that recommendation over the top. We think from the media seat that we sit in that there's an opportunity for us to be more involved and to send the message that waiting for this demand to return while producing more milk is just not the smartest way to get this done. It never has worked. It just leads to more devastation, heartache, bankruptcy, losses to not only the dairy producers and their families, but to the vendors who have gambled and extended to individual dairies and the industry collectively that things will move forward. And I think they have a right to expect that dairy producers would do the best they can to protect those interests, not only their own interests as a dairyman and as the head of the household and the family member, protecting long-term generational investment, but they have an obligation to the vendors and those who have for decades and even some of them into the second century are providing services to dairy producers that weren't being paid for. And so we're grateful to be able to join Ron O'Brien in the marketplace. We'll take a little bit of time for a brief announcement from our sponsors while we get connected to Mr. O'Brien. Hang tight.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
We're down 2. Posting. First call. right there at the block at 146 even, down 2. 4 loads trading. Barrel settling at 143 and a quarter, down 2 and a quarter. No loads traded at the barrel.
That's the close of the blocks and barrel trades on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Express our appreciation to Ron O'Brien and his open window to those markets this morning. Hang tight for a few messages, and then we'll be back. We'll be joining the powder trades shortly, and then close the day with butter.
Hello, I'm Eva Strang, Education Coordinator for the Allied Milk Producers. Cereal and milk have always been a mainstay for breakfast, at least since 1882. That's when the first commercially manufactured cereal was made by Henry Perky. It was called shredded wheat, and it's still with us today as one of the most popular cereals. Remember, breakfast is probably the most important meal of the day, and a good breakfast includes nutritious dairy foods like milk on cereal. A good way to start the day.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.becoKnows.com.
Good morning and welcome back. This is the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. As we mentioned in our opening, the cover story this morning for the broadcast is going to focus largely around the reports of late, and it's not new, but of, what do you call them, problems in the processing sector as we have had Kraft Heinz is among companies under legal fire for using cellulose, a filler made from wood chips, in its 100% grated Parmesan cheese product. Now, true or false? What have I done here? Hang on here. We get a lot of pop-ups here on my computer. We'll be fixing that before we get too much older. But we apologize for the. On Friday, an Illinois woman named Yvonne Averhart filed a class action lawsuit against Kraft Heinz in the Federal Northern District Court, claiming violations of the Illinois Consumer Fraud and Deceptive Business Practices Act. Similar lawsuits were filed last week against Kraft Heinz in federal courts in New York, Missouri, and California. Walmart was also.
Move over, Manny, Mo, and Jack. For quick, convenient auto service and no appointment needed, ask for G Express service from Gorpetti Automotive in Visalia. We'll guarantee an oil and filter change in as little as 39 minutes. And there's more. Need your tires rotated? A brake job? Even a 15,000-mile service? There's no appointment necessary, and we'll guarantee your service time. G Express. It's a new level of convenience you'll only find at Gorpetti Automotive.
Is your milking equipment holding your dairy back? Are you still milking with 5/8-inch dairy equipment that became popular 35 years ago? Your dairy's production and milking goals have changed. Shouldn't your dairy equipment be able to meet the same goals? Beco Dairy Automation can help with industry-leading, innovative dairy equipment that eliminates all restrictions in the milk path of your milking parlor. Eliminating the restrictions in the milk path improves production, milking flow rates, parlor throughput, and ultimately better udder health for your cows. Beco Dairy Automation is your partner for success, delivering unrestricted, durable, affordable and profitable milking equipment to today's commercial dairy. To learn more, call us today at 1-800-344-7166 or check out our website at www.bicoknows.com.
There we go. A giant 2 loads trade, and powder rises a half a cent, and good for them. Butter, blocks and barrels traded lower this morning. Blocks down 2, and barrels down 2 1/4. So, and at least we not be consistent in reminding dairy producers why we are seeing this price continue to erode. Number one, non-responsive milk production at the farm gate by producers for most of the country, because just not growing is not going to cut it in this current market. You've actually got to reduce the total amount of milk in the tank, and have called for many months now, 2% per month by dairy producers across the country and literally around the world. If they could all hear and they would all respond. Mr. Maddox taught us that if dairy producers stood together, unified, and acted in concert. I was in the middle of the night, received a call for some help to an individual, came back to the house, and couldn't sleep for a while, and thinking, and this process that we're going through continues to weigh on everyone's mind, and the old Three Musketeers thing came to my mind, all for one and one for all, and that's what's really lacking in the dairy producer sector of this country, a unification in purpose, meaningful purpose behind sustainability, behind profitability for dairy producers. And we're going to go out and talk about that a lot with dairy producers this week and in the weeks and months to come, because that's what's missing. And we're going to reach out and touch someone. We're going to touch a lot of people, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a all for one and one for all, because everybody else is working in concert against, not intentionally against, but their higher profits are your losses. Their lower cost of production are your profits. And when you play into their hands by being non-responsive to milk production, because there's the old saying, oh wow, it's Russia's fault, it's China's fault, and it's the market's fault, and we've identified yesterday our cover story about India and some of the other global influencers that are kicking us in the pants. All those things are true and factual, but we've also known that they were in play and having an impact on the markets now for almost 24 months or more. And so what have you done? What did you know? When did you know it? And what have you done about it? And so that's where we start to be held accountable. And in our seat, we're saying, wow, should we, and are we doing a better job of getting this information into producers' hands so they could make a unified stand together for profitable prices? You don't need to be selling milk for below the cost of production, much less at a price that is you're not even close to profitability, not real profitability. Now, there's some guys that are getting by, and their production costs are they below 16? I don't know. Not all in, all done. I don't think so. But, there's some guys that can do it real if they don't pay themselves and they don't pay retirement and they're not paying insurance and they're not trying to fix everything that needs to be fixed, but they're just welding it up and putting some wire on it. Well, then, or zip ties, for crying out loud. I'm a big fan of zip ties. But boy, in the real world, where things are, there's a lot of stress, give and take in the operation of a dairy farm in this country. Zip ties are not, what's needed. They need to retool. Pent up demand is high, and so, and what we don't need, of course, in this particular time is what our cover story focuses on. But I wanted to reiterate one more time that we're where we are because of non-responsive milk production on the farm because the excuse given that demand has gone away is that was then. This is now. And what's important now is that we know what condition we're in, we know what the problem is, we know what caused it. Now what are we going to do to fix it? And so all for one and one for all is where dairy producers stand up and say, okay, guess what we're going to do? We're going to utilize the tools at hand, and we're going to move forward with a plan that not only reduces the amount of milk when necessary, be market responsive with milk production based on what demand is doing, but you also need to get actively involved in pursuing what is a demand increase. And we calculate there is the potential for demand increase in the United States of utilization and consumption equal to more than 30% of the current national production of milk in America, if we're willing to go there and do what's necessary. So we're going to talk about that, and so the way forward is available, and we want dairy producers to embrace it, and we'll continue to push this until we get where we need to go. We're going to be joining the butter trades almost momentarily. Our cover story today is focused entirely on, okay, so what the heck is happening that we should be worried about having wood pulp in our Parmesan cheese? And who in the heck made that decision, and why do they have anything to do with this industry? And so, that is a serious concern. And because I'm looking at other related articles we've gone to, this is in the Chicago Tribune, by the way, Kraft Heinz hit with Parmesan cheese lawsuits. Okay? And then, of course, the caption, there's Kraft Parmesan. We have some of that in our refrigerator, and we use it on a regular basis. But this lady in Illinois filed a class action lawsuit on February 26th against Kraft Heinz in federal Northern District Court, claiming violation
98 even offer.
Deceptive Business Practices Act.
No bid.
So we're going to join the butter trades briefly here with Ron O'Brien, Senior Global Strategist of Interfoods. With Interfoods,
the offer at 98 even, two less offer.
butter.
98. First call. Second call. Third. Rose. All right, so we're going to settle right there. 95.75. Down 75 with 6 loads trading. So, that's all zeroed up, everybody.
Okay. There we have the blocks and barrels, the powder, and the butter trades this morning. It's Tuesday, March the 1st. This is the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1-hour all-dairy connection. Hang tight. We'll be right back. Another great marketing piece, in my opinion, from Allied Milk Producers, a milk marketing organization out of the East, an organization which takes dairy producer funds and converts them into messages. And that's what they do. And then, of course, getting those messages out to as many people. We end up in the industry a lot of times just talking to ourselves, and I think we've got to turn the mic and the speakers outward to the consumers, and that's what Allied is attempting to do there, and does a pretty good job. You wonder why we might be talking about outdoor barbecues. Well, in California today, the weather's going to be somewhere in the mid to high 70s, and it's sunny and warm. Everything is in full bloom. Everybody I talk to is bothered with allergies and pollens in the air. It's while the soil temperature, I was reminded by my good friend, we were talking about gardens and getting things planted. He says, Tom, don't be fooled. Don't be putting stuff out yet. The soil temperature is still cold, and everything will just sit, and it's not the time. Don't get in a hurry just because the air temperature is warm. And so, but you could hold a picnic today. I know some friends that went out and to a small community southeast of here yesterday, and a group of ladies, and just toured the little city, and they have murals up, 30-some murals in their little town of Exeter, California. And if you've never been there, you should go see it. It's pretty impressive, but it was just a warm day. They had a picnic, and so while other parts of the country may be much, much colder and more inclement, California, we got it good here.
As dairy farmers watch profits slip away and a wonderful way of life painfully comes to an end for future generations, Dairy Pricing Association sees a brighter future simply by having a solution. These dairy pricing farmer members in 10 states and growing have figured out a way. Government handouts are not the answer. It's time for farmers to take matters in their own hands. Dairy Pricing Association is asking for farmers to contribute 10 cents per hundredweight to buy surplus dairy products to create a floor price, as well as helping relieve hunger in America. This is a win-win. As dairy farmers, we watch markets fluctuate as much as $4 per hundredweight in 1 month's time. 10 cents is nothing. Imagine being able to curb another 2009 scenario simply by controlling the floor price that you need as a dairy farmer to stay in business. With the dairy products that you as a dairy pricing member purchase, thousands of people are fed. No government assistance is needed. Rather, simply you as a dairy farmer are helping yourself by helping others. For more information, visit online dairypricing.org.
The time for picnics and backyard barbecues is here. Schedule as many as you can because, well, the cold weather months, they just last too long. Make your cookouts and picnics extra special by including lots of delicious dairy products. Cheese for those hamburgers, cheese cubes to snack on, Frosties and ice cream to top off your cookout or picnic. Not only are these dairy products fun foods, they're downright delicious and nutritious. Presented by the Allied Milk Producers.
Good morning and welcome back. This is the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. We've spent a great deal of time, as is always the case, in the markets. Block barrels down, powder up, and butter down today on March the 1st, 2016. The feature story, I should say our cover story today that we've been talking about briefly, is entirely focused on what is in the cheese. And in this particular case, we've outlined a lawsuit that's been filed against Kraft Heinz. And of course, in fairness, let's read on about that. Bloomberg, let's see. Walmart was also sued last week over cellulose, an anti-clumping agent derived from wood chips. It is in its grated Parmesan cheese. The cellulose concerns stem from a Bloomberg News story about a Food and Drug Administration investigation of Castle cheese. Bloomberg News conducted a test with an independent laboratory. Kraft Heinz cheese labeled 100% grated Parmesan cheese was found to be 3.8% cellulose. Between 2 and 4% is considered to be an acceptable level, according to the Bloomberg News story. Kraft Heinz spokesman Michael Mullen couldn't be reached immediately Monday for comment on the lawsuits. In a previous comment to the Tribune, Mullen said cellulose was FDA approved and that the Kraft Heinz cheese was still within the levels of cellulose considered acceptable. We are committed to the quality of our products, and we are also committed to listening to our consumers, Mullen said in an email to the Tribune last week. We know the top complaint people have about grated Parmesan cheese is clumping of the cheese. Really, I want taste. I'd like to have quality and taste. But so maybe we're going to read some comments here and see what everybody says. Jewel Osco's essential everyday Parmesan cheese was found to have the highest level of cellulose of those tested at 8.8%, guys. Hello. Is the top end 4 or is the top end 8.8? That cheese has since been removed from all 185 Jewel Osco stores. Well, no kidding. Okay. Subway to ensure footlongs measure up after lawsuit. Let's just go check out those related stories, because I think it's important that we take a look at these. Jewel Osco pulls Parmesan cheese found to have high levels of wood pulp. And some people in the industry might go, well, Van Horwick, why are you covering this? What's up with that? Well, the reality is that you got to face these things. If we're doing things that we need to improve upon, then dadgummit, let's get on with that. And I've got, dadgummit, this thing, there it goes. We keep getting pop-ups. Jewel Osco has pulled Essential Everyday Parmesan cheese from all 185 of its stores amid concerns that the grated cheese contains high levels of cellulose and anti-clumping agent made from wood. Now, and what you guys have got to know is that in the industry and all throughout the food world, somebody's going to test this. They've got the ability to do this like never before. It's an open book. You have to be picture perfect. You can't allow this 8.8%. If the national standard is between 2 and 4, you're going to tout that. Then what are we doing at 8.8? Jewel Osco, signature brand. Trucco wouldn't say whether the new brand name is made by the same manufacturer. The concern about high levels of cellulose stems from a Food and Drug Administrative investigation of Castle cheese. Now, I don't know Castle from a hole in a wall, but we're going to know more about them. They're not going to be in business long if they want to keep this up. Bloomberg News conducted a test with an independent laboratory, the results of which were reported this week, that showed the Essential Everyday brand cheese was 8.8% cellulose. We got that. Acceptable levels by the FDA is 2 to 4%, which I'm going, okay, really? Is that what the consumers want? According to Bloomberg, Jewel's Essential Everyday brand contained the highest levels of cellulose among all brands it tested, including Walmart's Great Value brand Kraft, Whole Foods, etc. Whole Foods 365. Whole Foods and Kraft disputed that there was too much cellulose in their cheese. All 4 retailers said they were looking into the findings. Jewel didn't identify the manufacturer of its Essential Everyday or signature brand cheeses. Well, we've got 15 comments. Let's just see. I want to see what they have to say. Come on, show me. All right. Let's just see what they got to say. Cellulose fiber is an ingredient in many foods, said somebody. You're right about shredding cheese from a block. You need it being better. The cellulose powder is the coating they've only put in the convenient packages of already shredded cheese to keep it from clumping and sticking together. Not everybody can afford or make use of a whole chunk of Parmesan cheese before it spoils. So the trade-off for a bit of cellulose fiber may be worth it sometimes. 8% is way too much, though, says one. Get what you pay for, says somebody else. M. Benny tweeted. Back to his bio class, all plant cell walls are made of cellulose. Cotton and wood have more, as they are stronger than say, spinach, so are used as a better source. It also is one thing called fiber in your diet. Cannot be digested by humans or so passed through. Herbivores, cows, etc., can digest it, but therefore don't pass it to us, which is why we need high fiber foods in our diets to protect the intestines. Just another press-induced food scare. Ooh, okay. Well, some good teaching there. That's all the signs around Jewel Osco saying they are that their new signature kitchen, the brand items, formerly Safeway kitchens, are the same items with a new name replacing Everyday Essential, implying the same suppliers. Can the reporter or someone check to make sure they are not the same supplier? Seriously, even in the imported specialty items? Well, that's just sad, said another. And this is what happens when you buy processed food. Why not buy a block of fresh Parmesan and grate it yourself? Oh, I know. There's too much like 4-letter word work. It's fun to see what people are thinking, but these consumers matter. And I think we all need to be doing our very best to address that. Consumers do matter, what they think. Really, wood fiber, can we see if we could find something else? A sprinkle of doubt, another article, a sprinkle of doubt over Parmesan cheese. Some facts about cheeses are unnecessary to contemplate. Where does the blue in blue cheese come from? It comes from mold, but it's harmless mold, so enjoy. Okay, and so we've got we've always got issues that another question about cheese sounds philosophical, but is practical. If you buy a container of 100% grated Parmesan, is that really all you're getting? Probably not. And of course, they go on to talk about what was found in those samplings. So, looking to see if anything else, and of course, all of these. Here's more comments. 22 comments on the one article. There's only 3 on this particular one that also appeared in the Chicago Tribune. So, the point is, and we've talked about this a lot, about the importance of being picture perfect. We make dairy producers contribute to a food stream that provides edible products and very perishable edible products to consumers all over the world. And there's another article in today's, and we aren't going to have the time to get to it, but listeria found at cheese plant with mislabeled products. Okay, and I didn't get to that, and let's see, CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley. Oh boy, let's see if that really hit. But in Pittsburgh, if you love cheese, this news was pretty unappetizing. Some Parmesan cheese actually contains wool pulp. We did that. But then last Friday, an executive at Pennsylvania Foods Company pleaded guilty to selling cheese that had no relation to what was on the label. See, there's issues. And what we'll do for money, I hope not. We cannot allow that to happen. So we've got to be ever vigilant. You've got to be picture perfect in the production. You've got to be picture perfect in the transportation, in the processing, and it was actually reported by Scott Pelley on the CBS Evening News. That's just great. All right. Unfortunate, very unfortunate. But there are checks and balances, and we're grateful that some of them are out there. We need to... How do we get rid of this? Let's just close that. So, picture perfect. It's one of the things that we'll be talking about in the weeks and months ahead. It's so critical, so very critical that everything in the dairy industry be picture perfect. as best we can, to the best of our ability. Don't take shortcuts. Don't you make the very best. One of the reasons we talk fortification to California standards is so that we are providing the best possible quality product in the fluid market that we possibly can, the best tasting, most nutritious. And so these things are critical. We don't need a disruption in the consumer's confidence. We can all see what happened to Chipotle, and we're talking about a 33%, a one-third reduction in consumer response. Their numbers dramatically impacted. What if 33% of the consumers said, you know what, that dairy product stuff, I'm concerned about it, and so they back off. Does it repair? Yes, maybe over time, but nobody can afford a 33% reduction in consumption of a perishable product like milk. We just have taken the hit we've taken. We took the hit in 2009 because there was an 8%, less than that, 4 to 6% reduction in global in the consumption of domestic product on a global level. And then now we're about 8% of national production is not being consumed in the global markets, and our prices have fallen in half, 50% reduction in pay price to most and many producers across the country. Why? Because demand fell. Now this is just demand prompted by, a major player left the market. But what if your consumers left the market because of our failure to be picture perfect? Well, these are the concerns that we see that always need to be vigilant about and address as we can, and work hard with initiatives to move forward an agenda that is ever more progressive and ever more vigilant to have the best quality product, the best tasting, highest nutrition, and highest quality at all times at every level of production, processing, manufacturing, and retailing. To that end, we will go. We'll be back tomorrow morning. It'll be Wednesday morning, the second day of March, 2016. And when again we'll join together for the Agribusiness Dairyman News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. Thank you for joining us. Everyone have a safe day, and goodbye.
To learn or hear more, please join us for our daily News Hour magazine, your 1 hour all dairy connection. It is broadcast live every morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific and 11:30 a.m. Eastern. You can join the broadcast by calling 712-432-0900. Your conference PIN number is 666632#, or you can listen to the recorded call by dialing 712-432-0990. using your same PIN number for personal access. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. We truly believe you need to and can know more. Our job is to deliver more knowledge to dairy producers, believing that if knowledge is power, then applied knowledge is nuclear power. We'll see you on the call.